Yeah, I studied art at Ruskin School in Oxford. Then I did postgraduate studies at the Slade School of Fine Art in London. And I won a DAAD scholarship to the Kunstakademie Düsseldorf, where I stayed for 4 years. And then finished the whole thing by doing 1 year at the Rijksacademie in Amsterdam. I was making very different work then. It was photograph based, it was installation based. And I had an epiphany and decided that I wanted to make something that explored historical themes. Well, because I was making time-based work, and I would make paintings that lasted only 1 day, precisely 1 day, or 1 lunar cycle. And then I thought, well, I'll make a painting that lasts 1 year. But these were abstract works. But it just wasn't possible to sustain an idea over that period of time. So I began looking at topographical landscapes that were packed with incident and detail and information, and I thought, yes, you probably could. But obviously, after a short period of time, I realized that the time-based part of that wasn't really valid, and the nature of reinterpreting this 17th century or 18th century vision into with contemporary narratives was taking over. And that's when I really began to look. I mean, this series of works are slightly atypical. I don't do many of them. Largely, I do classical landscapes, based on Claude Lorraine or Jacob van Ruysdael. So these are a little bit different. But I'm intrigued by them because of their vanitas elements. But I think what they hold in common is a notion that I have that explores the way that ideas travel through time, and that the way paintings are read and can never be understood the same way because history changes, context changes. So something that's 4 centuries old is understood in a very, very different way. For instance, a lot of the information might be fairly obscure now. In one painting there is a snake, which 4 centuries ago would have been easily read as a symbol for sin, and on its back is a butterfly which would have been understood as a symbol for the soul, and the snake has its mouth open and is trying to eat the butterfly. And that intrigues me, that something that was loaded with meaning, with a very definite code, is now just an image. It's quite an empty image. This vanitas imagery was, it's highly visually laden with meaning, strictly codified, and it had very specific interpretations. And the thing that intrigued me was that it's sort of closed off now. It's closed off. It's kind of like dead. So there was an impulse to reintroduce, to use it as a framework to hang other ideas in. There's a bust of Hegel in there. I was sort of interested in the rereadings of Hegelian thought at the moment that's going on, especially his notion of time and change. Whether it's, some of them have a lot to do with the early modernism and the sort of violence of that process of the emergence of modernism. In this painting, there are stills from films, and it's a film called Peeping Tom by Michael Powell. And it's an interesting thing because it's a dead image in a way. It's a still from a film within a film, and although ostensibly it's a pleasant home movie, in fact it's quite a violent, unpleasant image. They aren't really supposed to create linear narratives at all. I mean, in some instances the images are intended to collide. they can be absurd. I mean, this is just a kind of an absurd molecule on top of a modernist, you know, a Ben Nicholson style plinth, and it sort of predates. It predates an understanding, maybe even of molecular. So it's like a reaching out, a scientific reaching out. I mean, a lot of it to do is like with hope, failure, ambition, and the way that those things collapse.